A summer camp haunting. This happened to me a couple years ago. I was 10 years old in grade 5. My class went to summer camp for 2 nights. It started on the first night. My friends and I were talking and telling stories when I noticed that there was some writing on my bunk. Someone had written a story in pencil. I read it over and over again, and then called everyone over to look. I don't remember the exact wording, but it went something like this. One night, a bunch of us decided to sneak out of our cabin into the mess hall. The sky was completely clear. We snuck in and started messing around, chasing each other and jumping on tables. Suddenly, there was a flash of light and a crack of thunder, but the sky was still clear. We freaked out and ran back to our cabin. A few of the girls thought it was nothing, but me and a couple of others had this strange feeling that it was true. Suddenly, we didn't feel safe in our own cabin anymore. Anyways, we went to sleep, and sometime in the middle of the night, the ones who believed in the story, me including, all woke up and there was a flash of light and a crack of thunder, same as the story. We all fell back asleep almost instantly. When I woke up the next morning, I thought that it had just been a dream. But then my friend asked about it. She had seen and heard it too. And so had the others who believed. Now we were really scared. The only thing was, there had been no thunder and lightning the night before. It was just us. The day went on pretty normal, and then that night, something even stranger happened. A bunch of the girls were looking out the window, not me at the time, when suddenly they started freaking out and telling the others to come look. I rushed to the window, and what I saw was impossible. There was a little girl about 4 years old, skipping through the forest, wearing a white wedding dress. When she went behind a tree, she didn't come out the other side, she just disappeared. The other girls said that she stopped and waved at them before skipping away. We went out to find her, but she was completely gone. No one else believed us, but we all know what we saw. That story was true, and that little girl was real. Or at least, she used to be. I think she was a ghost. None of us have seen her since, but none of us can forget those nights. A Midsummer's Night Hellhound. It has taken me quite a while to work up the resolve to type this story. Let me introduce myself. My name is Jay. I am 28, and I live in American Canyon, California. This story is not a ghost story, at least I don't think it is, but it is an account of my first brush with the paranormal. I am a firm believer in the paranormal. I always have been. And one day, my belief was fortified. That day when I actually saw it. When I actually saw what I believed to be a hellhound. This occurrence took place 3 days after my 25th birthday, about the middle of summertime. It was a brisk night in my hometown of American Canyon. While walking home from the local market, I hear this deafening howl. Then I catch a glimpse of what I thought was a large dog. I assumed it was just one of those many stray dogs in my neighborhood, but as I continued, I saw the same large dog. This time I got a better look at it. I was unnerved because of the dog's size and appearance. It was about the size of a small bear. The build of the dog was like that of a Rottweiler, with fur that was the darkest black I'd ever seen, like it was made of pure shadows, with piercing, glowing red eyes, eyes that seemed to peer into my soul. The dog's torso was tangled in what looked like barbed wire. After I saw it, the dog then darted away with incredible speed. At this point, I was quite scared. I continued on my way home, and I found myself dreading each corner, fearing another sighting of this hellish creature. I had almost made it home when the beast appeared again. This time, it stood directly in my path. I was frozen with fear, hair standing up on end, and I closed my eyes, fearing an attack. It starts to growl, a deep, rumbling growl, one that I felt deep in my soul, one that threatens to turn my legs to jello. I don't know what compelled me to do so, but I started praying to the Lord and Jesus Christ in heaven to make this beast leave. But the growling intensified. It seemed as if the growl just pulsated through my mind, doing everything in its power to get me to stop praying. I continued to pray. I just prayed and prayed and prayed. As I continued to pray, the growl slowly dissipated. When I finally opened my eyes, all that was left was scorch marks where the dog stood. I was terrified and shaking as I rushed home and locked the door. But when I turned around, I am greeted by a pitch-black dog, but this one I am sure means me no harm. It is my black Labrador, Mia. After the night I had, I just wanted nothing more than to relax and think about what happened. So I turn on the TV for some background noise, and when it starts up, I see a show on Animal Planet called Lost Tapes. The episode was about hellhounds, and what they were describing sounded eerily similar to what I encountered. To this day, I have yet to see the same dog or another like it. So this begs the question, what did I see? A hellhound? A spectral creature? Some sort of demon? I will never know. But then again, I'm not sure I want to. I've had a few other unrelated experiences with the paranormal that I may post on a later date. I'm trying to decide whether or not I'm ready to relive those experiences by writing them down yet. Things that happened last summer. I've had several experiences throughout the years, but the ones that I will publish here are the ones that stand out to me the most. Last summer, when I was 14, I used to sneak out of my house a lot. I would meet my friends at the park, and we would go about town doing stupid teenager stuff. Well, anyways, one night, I was the first to arrive at the park. It was very dark because of the trees, but there was moonlight. The park is surrounded by a number of native gardens and an elementary school on the other side of the street. I was standing by the entrance when I heard screeches and what sounded like cries of a baby coming from the forested area of the native gardens. This really started to scare me, but then my friends showed up. They told me they heard these noises too when they were coming from the rear entrance, so they started running across the grass instead of going around. We were crossing through the park again on our way to the street when we heard the screeching yet again, and it sounded a lot closer this time. We ran out to the street and did not look back. Another time we snuck out, I picked up a friend to come with me. This time, our other friends did not meet us in the park because of the last encounter. Me and my friend were just walking on one of the trails when we heard someone's voice coming from the middle of the park. We stopped and listened, and we could hear the voice clearly. It was a woman's voice. I thought it might have been just a woman talking on her cell phone, but then again, who sits in the park at 1 a.m. to make a phone call? This was very creepy because there was a lot of moonlight and I couldn't see anyone in the area where her voice was coming from. Also, on the way back, we decided to check if she was still there, but she wasn't. In the other story above, I mentioned an elementary school on the other side of the street. On the playground there is a slide with 2 lanes and it's partially covered at the top. When we were walking on the trail, I noticed some small flashing lights coming from the opening in the slide. I was telling myself that there was no way I was seeing that. Could it be that there was something there? I remember as a kid hearing that people have died on the playground in the park. And I used to go to that elementary school as a kid. In the 3rd grade, a group of girls went into the bathroom and found an old chain engraved with "Help me" behind one of the toilets in the stalls. The girls had to stay with the principal to give their story, and they closed off the bathroom to everyone else for a few days. I have another story, which I will post soon, about the things in my house. Camp experiences gone wrong. It was the summer before 7th grade. I was about 12 years old, and I was excited about going to my first sleepaway camp for 2 weeks by myself. The day I got to the campsite, there were a million of other girls like me, and I got assigned to a cabin with 5 other girls. On the first night of camp, we had a campfire, and our cabin counselor told us about a lone haunted cabin smack in the middle of the woods. He told us how a girl died in the cabin bathroom in some freak accident, and she came every summer to haunt that very cabin she died in. Of course, most of the girls were very skeptical, and we decided that night, after lights out, we'd check out the boarded-up cabin. We were told not to go anywhere near the woods and anywhere near that cabin, but of course, we were curious, and of course, we were bored. So about a few hours after lights out, we stayed up until the counselor went to bed. It was about 1 a.m. The 6 of us grabbed flashlights and dressed in dark sweats and snuck out of the cabin very quietly. It took us 10 minutes to run to the cabin in the middle of the woods. Sure enough, when we got there, we could see the police sign "Do Not Cross" all around the cabin. The windows and doors were boarded up, but we broke down the door and snuck in. Everything inside the cabin had been ripped apart and torn down, and there weren't even any ground carpet or anything. It was a dirt floor. But there was one small round table in the middle of the ground floor, and we all sat around it. We joined hands and waited for a sign in the dark. The next thing we know, after about 2 minutes of silence, there was loud tapping noises coming from the table. We all screamed and got up. I flipped on the switch on the cabin wall, and all around where we were sitting, there were 2 sets of footprints. It couldn't have been any of us. All 6 of us were joining hands, and none of us has gotten up. We all ran out of the room. We went into the bathroom that was right next to the cabin. The bathroom door was also boarded up, but we smashed it down because we were curious. We opened the door and flipped on the switch, and on the dirty bathroom mirror, there was the letter J in dried, smeared blood. Right when we saw that, we just ran out of there. the scariest experience of my life.